awesome. But whatever you got going aside, pen guys are here. Welcome to FP Geeks. Here's the group: Eric, Dan, and Steve.
This is Fountain Pen Geeks podcast, episode number 78 for Monday, July 8th, 2013. We are streaming to you live on Saturday, July 6th. The dates are right this time. I'm not just reading what I should be reading. I actually have checked whether this is correct. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks the world over, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to another inktastic episode of Fountain Pen Television. My name is Hamish. No, wait, it's Steven.
My name is Aziza.
And I'm Dan.
Woo!
And we're all here. How about that?
Yes,
Wow.
This is exciting.
It is a bit.
2 weeks. 2
Quite.
weeks. No, it's quite exciting.
It's really exciting.
And
really
it's
nice to have everybody.
inktastic. That's why I picked that word, because I was really excited.
Yeah, inktastic is a nice invention. I like inktastic, or maybe inkstatic, or we can probably come up with some...
Incroyable.
Incroyable, yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good
that's a
one.
pretty good one, eh?
That's a pretty good one. That's so intellectual I cannot top that. So maybe
I'm
we should
pretty
just talk
geeky.
about something stupid. What's the weather over there, Aziza?
It's hot.
Okay, cool. What's the weather over there, Dan?
It's actually really nice. We're probably low 90s, not too terrible humidity, so yeah, it's okay.
How
That
about
sounds
you?
pretty good.
How about you, Hamish? I mean, Steven.
It's blizzards. No, actually, it's a pretty nice day. As I think I've said that every week now, but we are having a very odd summer. But right now, it actually feels a bit like summer. So it's nice and warm. It's sunny, and it's nice. I like the whole weather, actually, weather situation.
That's nice. I would like a
is
non-Texas
nice.
summer.
Yeah, it's yeah. I can imagine how that would be a little
Oh,
bit.
well. Hot.
Oh well, should we just talk about pen shows?
Yeah,
maybe?
because before we get really started, we should just mention there's a pen show coming up. In case you didn't know, it is next week.
It is next week.
Yeah, next weekend, July 12th to Sunday, July 14th in Miami. You should go. That is 3 days, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Yes. Friday is 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. for the public, and then Saturday is 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sunday is 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And on Saturday and Sunday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., there is that calligraphy class with Deborah Basil, and it's only $25, gets you like into the show attendance, and then it gets you like materials and stuff. So you should do it because everybody wants to know how to do calligraphy, and then you can write pretty letters and like show off to people. You know, you should do that.
And it's also fun to do calligraphy. You don't necessarily have to show off.
Of
but
course,
it's
you
kind
want
of
to show
nice.
you want to show off to like your family. Be like, look at all this awesome stuff I can do, while they all type on their phones and computers and stuff.
Yeah, well, you may have a point there. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
exactly. So I'm right. Don't argue with me. 1 day pass is $10, 2 days is $15, and the 3-day trader pass is $45. And if you want more info, you can go to miamipenshow.com. And if you don't
Cool.
want more info, I just gave you a lot of info, so whatever.
And if you don't want more info, you can also not go to the website.
Yeah, there you go. That works too.
Still a free country. Anyway, so, okay. Thanks a lot. Then we have the, I think we had a very nice giveaway of some really awesome Kaweco pens, didn't we?
We did. And I was kind of hoping I would win them, but apparently I'm not allowed to, so.
Well, how about your cats? Would your cats be allowed to send in some type of entry, and could they win? I don't think there are FP Geeks rules on that. Maybe we should regulate that. That's kind of the spirit of our time.
Maybe
to have
Tycho could
rules.
like button mash to enter.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, we did
Yeah.
pick the winner already.
Who's the winner?
So if you haven't checked and if you don't know if you're the winner or not, which would be crazy, the winner is Justin T. So congratulations, Justin. Woo! Yeah.
Yeah, we contacted him on Wednesday. He was super excited to find out he won the pen, and he's been in contact with Frank at Fonto Plumo, and he's getting the pens shipped over. So, yeah, thanks for Fonto Plumo for sponsoring.
Yeah.
the giveaway. That was really awesome.
Definitely. Which color did he pick? Do you know?
Oh,
I'm just curious because I couldn't decide myself if I won.
I can't remember which color he picked.
Oh, so exciting.
Sorry.
Because there was
We'll
like the
find out.
yellow and then the soap green, and I was like, oh my god, which one would I take? So my life is very distressing.
I think I would go for the yellow.
I would go for the yellow too.
Yeah, I thought the green was a bit
I pick both.
minty. I don't really like that shade of green. So
Minty.
But how
Mint.
awesome is it that these are new old stock pens from like
Amazing.
60 years ago?
Yeah, very
Like, they just found like a whole cache of them and like, oh, well, we'll just give some away and
Yeah,
you
Super
want to, you
cool.
can buy them and
it's cool, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I said that last week, but it really makes you wonder what you could find in the Mont Blanc factory or Waterman factory, whatever. I mean, that would be awesome, right? Just amazing what you could just run into.
Yeah, we need to be covert spies. That's what I said. We need to like get into these factories and like do stuff. You know,
Stuff.
like take things and stuff. Be spies of sorts. So that's my plan.
I think the best thing you can do is if you want to steal something is to first announce on the internet that you are going to steal something and break in. I think that we have a good strategy going here. I think this is a really good crime thing. You know what? Maybe we should talk about ink. How about that?
Yes, the topic of the show is inks, hence inktastic and incroyable and all sorts of things.
you know, I'm just wondering if we're gonna have enough talking material to fill up the next hour because isn't there only like a couple inks out there to talk about or
Just
there's
few.
not very many, right?
And you know, none of us here really care much for inks or anything.
Yeah, it's not like one of us has every Oroshizuku ink color.
And it's not like we taste them and sample them.
Smell them.
And smell them. And,
It's gonna be a good
you
show.
know.
Well, fortunately, I think there are about 7 million inks, and Aziza has 699 million
Probably
or
like
something.
1,000 or so, right?
Yeah, it's not, but I mean, yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any bearing on how many inks you actually physically have?
I think I actually did an inventory yesterday, and like I did like a little spreadsheet type thing. I didn't actually count, but from my last inventory to this one, which was like 85 bottles, and I think I probably added approximately like 20 bottles. So I'm just tipping 100 bottles or so.
Holy
A lot
cow.
of inks.
Yeah.
You have more bottles of inks than I have fountain pens.
But I use a lot of ink, and sometimes I taste it, and sometimes I use.
Well, that's a good
sometimes
reason to
it
have a
ends
lot of
up,
ink.
you
Take
know,
shots of the ink as she's using it in her pen.
I'm
Like,
like, you know, yeah,
And
things
that
happen.
freaking Waterman with that super juicy
Yes.
music nib that just probably goes through a bottle of ink every
That
time you
thing-
ink it up. So
it
that
is a
I can see
guzzler.
how you.
Yeah, and that thing probably holds about like 4 mils of ink. So for
Really, that's
Yeah,
a lot of
it's-
ink. Wow.
it is
Didn't
a
expect that.
whopper, a whopper. Yeah. So I really like it. I like
Nice.
it a lot.
so how are we going to start this inktastic show off?
I was just gonna like open bottles of ink and pour them all over myself. So
I would like to see that. Let's go.
yeah.
Wait, let me make sure I'm recording that we are saving this, right? We don't want to lose this.
Yeah. Well, what we thought we would do was just pick a couple of like ink color classes and just talk about our favorite colors or favorite inks from those classes.
All
We thought
right.
we would try to be organized. It was hard though to pick.
I
And now
can imagine.
this is not like an all-encompassing list. This is just from the inks that we have or have used. So people
Which in
might
your
not
case
agree.
is, of course, not a whole lot, but you know, we'll,
Yeah, you know,
we'll
just
make
like
do
one or
with.
two.
Yeah.
Just one or two. So people might not agree with what I pick, but that's fine. You know, this is just based on what I have or what I've used. So. we'll go with-
And I think when Aziza and I were talking about this, I vetoed including yellow inks just because I have two, and
'cause he's cranky.
yeah, and I mean when I put those, that's right. And when I put those yellow inks in my pens, I can just not read back what I've written. So for me, a fountain pen ink, they can be nice for artists, but I thought that today we might just want to talk about inks that actually write, which you could actually use to write within a pen. So that's
Yes.
that was one consideration. We cannot cover every specific shade, but let's. Shall we hit it off with blue?
Yeah, let's start with blue.
So before we start with blue, I just did a quick count, and I've got about 49 bottles.
That's pretty
That's not
decent.
bad.
Yeah, that's a lot more than I thought I had.
See, you are way geekier than you may have anticipated. I knew that, but you might not have known it.
All right, blue inks.
Okay, blue inks.
Okay, what you got there?
Okay, I got 2 inks. Some of them I have 2 because
Oh, we may allow that. We may allow that.
I am an ink harlot, so you know.
You are entitled.
First is the Iroshizuku Konpeki, which is the deep cerulean. So Steven has muted himself. Nice classic blue, and yes, there are more, inexpensive blues out there, but I really like this one, and it does have a bit of a sheen to it, which surprised me because I didn't know that. And look at the pretty bottle. Oh, it's so attractive, And then I also have the Sailor Gentle Sky High, which has a wicked red sheen on it. So, and also it smells really good. So if you have not smelled this ink, you should get one and just smell it because it's really like solventy. So
it's interesting that you mentioned that because I have two Sailor inks. I may actually have that one. And it
like paint.
Yeah, it smells like paint, like a sort of acrylic paint. That's right. That's one of the weirdest smelling. But both of my Sailor inks have that, so I'm not sure whether that's a property of the stuff they use. But it's
all my Sailor inks smell like this. No, it's not distressing.
You really like sniffing ink, don't you?
What is wrong with you? This is like the greatest smell ever. Oh my god. Okay.
Anyway, already turning very interesting.
So you go ahead. What are your blue inks?
Well, I put one on the list. And that is an extremely repressed and tame choice, I would say, and that is Waterman Florida Blue, now known as Serenité, and I still refer to it as Tifcaf, the ink formerly known as Florida. And I think that's a really nice ink because it is super well behaved. The Boy Scout of inks. Doesn't really feather, doesn't really bleed through. You really have to do a lot of weird stuff with that to make it behave badly. And I just love that ink. When you put it in a vintage pen, you're going to be able to flush it out relatively easily. It doesn't do anything bad, so I just love that ink. It's not the most spectacular of colors, but it does everything it should do. So for me, that's worth it. Although it's not as spectacular as your Konpeki, and it doesn't have the smell as your Sailor ink, but still.
I just have weird standards. That's all.
No, I think Waterman Florida Blue is definitely one of my top choices. I used that for so long, and I ran out a few months ago and just haven't replaced the bottle. But that'd definitely be the top of my list. But for this conversation, I have to go with the PW Ackerman Binnenhof Blues. I mean, this is the only bottle I have, so I have to sneak it in with the blues while I can. The bottle is just absolutely fantastic. Steven sent me this, so thank you, Steven. But the ink is actually really, really good. The Binnenhof Blues, it's got kind of a purple tone to it a little bit. It's highly saturated. It lubricates really well when you're writing. Just a really, really good ink. Definitely got to get some more of those Ackermans.
Oh, sure. You just let me know whenever we'll hook you up.
So what you're saying is we need to order one of each Ackerman.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's only 30 bottles. That's $16.50 a piece, and then the shipping is about that same amount again. So that's going to work out. We can make that work. It's only going to be €1,000 or something.
That's okay.
Yeah, cool. No, the Ackerman it's terrible. I recently dropped one of those bottles, and it actually chipped in exactly the wrong spot. So ink was just leaking out from one corner, and I was like the Dutch boy. I had to stick my finger in to actually stop it from leaking. That's the story with the dike and stuff. And I had to pour it into another bottle because it was completely broken. That broke my heart because I wanted to empty that out and put another ink in there. It's not just about the ink; it's about the cool bottle. So it's a pity, but
that is sad. I would probably have cried.
It's 150 milliliters, so it's a lot of ink to clean up. So I was really careful not to spill too much because.
Definitely. All right.
What color we got next?
We got black, another necessary color, which might not really excite people, but you need it sometimes. So I do have a black. My first pick was going to be Noodler's Heart of Darkness, and then I recently not recently, but a little while ago, somewhat recently, got the Sailor Kiwa Guro Nano Black. So it's like that pigmented black. And, oh, God, this stuff is just so awesome. This is black. and it smells so good again. Oh my god! And so even if you're using it like with a really dry pen, it's just like so black that it's just awesome to look at and just awesome to smell. So I really
And
like it.
what about the taste?
You know, I haven't tasted this one yet because I was originally using a sample, and I like to taste from bottles because I don't know how the samples are treated.
Well,
Right?
that's a huge relief. I think it's much better to taste from a bottle than from a sample. I mean,
Well, unless I know
imagine
who
where the
gave
sample has been.
and how they've treat what if I don't know how they poured the stuff into the sample. Like who knows what they used? They could have used like a dirty pipette to transfer it or something.
Maybe that's a place where I don't really want to go in my mind. Maybe I should just talk about my black. Is that allowed?
Yeah.
Or shall we? Okay.
Yeah.
I think
Moving on.
one black that I really like is Noodler's X Feather, and I like that for two reasons. The first reason is that it is very black, and that may sound quite obvious, but some blacks, when you put them in a broader nib, they have a very dark gray color actually, and this is really black. The other thing I like is that it seems to have a fairly high viscosity, so it's a bit thicker than many inks. And what I like about that is that if you put that in a flex pen, I wouldn't necessarily put that in a vintage flex pen, but in an Ahab or something like that, you can really, the ink really stays nicely suspended between the tines of the nib when you spread them open a bit, and then it's easier to write without getting railroading. Now, it's not some type of miracle solution or anything, but it's definitely working, and it definitely does something. So I like that as a black ink.
It sounds
Oh, look,
almost
it's a
like
baby.
a dilute acrylic ink. It is a
Yeah,
baby.
that's kind of what it's like, I think. Yeah,
It is a baby.
it's a baby. What is her favorite ink?
Her favorite
Oh.
is Noodler's Heart of Darkness.
It's a
For that black heart that she's got.
Yeah.
Right.
Ready to go.
Yeah, right, black heart. She's just showing off how cute she is before she goes. Hard to argue
what
with.
they do. It's what they do.
That tends to be.
So Dan, what about your black?
Heart of Darkness is one of my favorites. If I'm not using that, then I'm probably using just Noodler's regular bulletproof black. Just two really good blacks. I've tried Aurora Black. It's a great ink. I didn't really find anything special about it. I just always seem to be coming back to Noodler's. I've tried Visconti Black. It's a really good black as far as ink flow and behaving itself, but it's got more of that kind of dark charcoal and not so much of that black hole kind of black. So it just kind of depends what you're going for too, because sometimes I like that. I don't want that pure blackness, but usually Heart of Darkness is my go-to black.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I have that Visconti ink too, and that's just what you said. Yeah. All right. What about brown?
That's me.
When I first started using fountain pens and getting into inks, it took me forever to get into brown inks because I thought, how could brown be interesting at all? But there are a lot of
Dude, I'm right here. Just kidding.
Oh, good one.
Dang. I agree with you though. I thought the same thing. I was like,
I didn't even think about that, Aziza. I'm sorry.
no, I'm just kidding. I was like, I thought the same thing. I was like, brown inks are so dull.
But no, there's a lot of
really
really good
awesome.
And Aziza, yours is one of my favorites. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yes, my brown ink of choice is Havana Brown, which I think is now like Absolute Brown. Is that what it's renamed to? Anyway, some horrendously boring name, so I'm going to call it Havana Brown.
Tifka.
Yes. Thank you, Stephen, for that excellent acronym. Yes, it's just so nice. It's like kind of got like a mild reddish tint to it, and it shades nicely. And this is actually the only Watermint ink I've ever used or owned. And it's so nicely behaved, and it's affordable, and it's just fantastic. So it made me like brown inks.
That's
It
good.
should be on a pedestal.
It should be on a pedestal. And you can put it on that sort of tilted position with those bottles, which is nice. That looks cool on a pedestal.
Oh yeah, yeah. I already did that before. Look at that. Ooh.
Well, anyway. Okay. Yeah, it's a nice brown.
I'm learning
yeah.
so much today.
Yeah, isn't it? Well, that's actually very useful. If the ink level is running low, you can actually get to the last bits. That's why it's like that. But
You just gotta be careful not to jam your nib in there.
you have to be careful not to jam your nib in there. You can hurt your nib.
Yeah.
As the professor has explained us.
Yeah.
Anyway, I kind of like Stephen Brown. Sorry, that was a joke.
Boo!
Now
He's all right.
I have two browns that I really like. One I'm really running low on, and that is one of the Fuchsia inks I will replace. Lidete. I think Lidete is really nice because if you put that in a nib that shades well, you're blown away. I think after Apache Sunset, that is my #1 shading ink, and it's there may be other ones out there, but I just don't know them. But it's really cool. When you put it on the paper, it's very hard to explain. But if you have a nice broad nib, for example, a broad stub or a really good italic, it's actually very matte. It's not glossy at all. It's very matte. It's like writing with tea, I suppose. A sort of weird brown greenish color. So I really love that. And that was my #1 brown. And then recently we got those inks from Conway Stewart, and I know they are relabeled diamine inks, but I don't recall the original diamine name. This is the one.
The sand.
King Sand?
King Sand. Exactly, King Sand. That's I don't know again I don't know what the diamine name is. You can also buy it on the diamine brand probably, but that is a wonderful brown. That is very nicely shaded. For those people who get really interested, I think both Lidete and King Sand have been put into Incyclopedia entries because I like them so much. But they are really good browns. Those are my #1 go-tos. #1 go-tos. That doesn't make sense, but you probably know what I mean.
Yeah, there's so many browns out there. I think my go-to right now is Visconti brown. But when Lisa Miyako sent me her Nikaya to work on, she had written a note in Noodler's Walnut, and that is a fantastic looking brown. And I was digging through my ink samples, and I actually had some, so I started using that, and now it's kind of a toss-up between Noodler's Walnut and Visconti brown. Just both excellent inks. They behave really well in pens. Moderate flow. Just really nice browns. Definitely do some experimenting with them. Next time you go to order some samples, get 5 or 6 browns and try them out, because I find that usually with like a stub nib, you can get excellent shading out of browns, and it just really makes them pop and brings a lot of life to them. So.
Yeah, I agree, and I see the point where people who may not have a lot of inks I think you're right there, who may think, well, brown must be very boring, but I think you'll be surprised. I agree there. Yeah. All right, what do we got next?
Green.
It's not easy being green,
No, and I had a hard time with this one. I don't know if the color I picked is cheating or not, but you guys can decide. But actually, it doesn't really matter because I'm the ink harlot, so I have ink authority.
And you make the rules.
I make the rules. I have 2 actually for this category. Okay, first one, the Caran d'Ache Caribbean Sea. It is turquoise, which is technically like a blue-green, so it kind of falls into the category. Sort of.
I think turquoise is just turquoise and not
Yeah,
green.
I think turquoise is its own category, which I
Is
don't
it?
think is, by the way.
Okay, fine.
So,
okay, fine. I have
this
an
has
actual.
been rejected. Try again.
Okay, I have an actual green. I have an actual green. Don't worry, I have a backup because this is an honest green, and it is so awesome. It's kind of like one of those hideous greens that you just can't not love. It is the, you know what, Steven? Can you say it? Could you say it faster?
You mean Rohr und Klinger Altgoldgrün.
Yeah, see, I can't say it like that, and I would just butcher it. So that's the one, and it's just spectacular.
That is nice. That is nice.
It's gorgeous, and it's so well described by Gold Green.
Yeah.
So, love it. That is my green.
It's a really cool green.
Mm-hmm.
I have that too. I probably would have put it on my list were it not that you had already done so, and I thought we should have some variety, because variety is the spice of life. I read that on the back of Matchbox once. So I picked another one that is Private Reserve. That's a Private Reserve Spearmint, and I only have a sample of that, but that is a super cool green. It is bright, but it's not too light. It's just very bright and intense. I think the name is awfully well chosen, and it just leaps off the page straight at you. So that's pretty high praise from.
I might have to try that.
Yeah, you probably have to try it. A friend of mine sent it to me as a sort of to try this out, and I haven't used it for months, and then recently someone commented on one of my videos and said that's a really cool ink. I reviewed it because I never watched my own videos, and I thought, wow, that really is a super nice ink. So I'm going to ink up a pen with it as soon as we're done with this show, and I'm probably going to buy a bottle.
Look at that.
Isn't it amazing?
I'm just going to want a bunch of ink after this. This is just cruel.
Oh yeah, it is. Dan, what about you?
Well, so I was just digging through my tray of green samples here.
Oh my, you're so organized.
Yeah, got to keep them.
Dang.
Organized. It's easier to find that way. And I would have to pick Caran d'Ache Amazon Green, Private Reserve Sherwood Green, and Noodler's Grün Cactus. They are by far my most favorite greens, and it's what I think of. It's the color I think of when someone says green. It just has that look to it, and that's why I really like it. Plus, I mean, they're all really well behaved. I've never really experienced that much feathering with either of them. One of my first favorites was Levenger's Always Greener, which to this day the color is still my favorite, but it's such a uncontrollable ink. You have to use it on really, really good paper, otherwise it feathers and bleeds, and I mean it's just kind of a mess. And I've kind of experienced that with all of Levenger's inks, but man, they've got such good colors. But yeah, and it's sad because I think that Caran d'Ache Amazon, I don't think those line of inks are available anymore.
Mm-mm.
So, I don't think
They're
so.
gone, and now their new ones are out, and they're expensive.
Really expensive.
Mm-hmm. It's painful.
But greens are a lot of fun.
Greens. I always think, I don't know why, but I always have the feeling they're a bit of a vintage look for some reason. They go well with I don't know. It's probably some weird idiosyncrasy. Has anyone of you ever used Mont Blanc Irish Green?
Mm-mm.
No, but I do have a sample of the original British Racing Green.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
right.
Yeah, people would kill for that.
I'd kill you for that.
Okay, staying in Iowa for the time.
The Irish Green is interesting, but I've only put it in one pen yet, and so I'm not really fully decided. It was a fairly fine nib, so I'm not really decided on whether I like it, but that looks like it's a pretty interesting thing. Only problem is it kind of makes you feel like river dancing, so when you write in, you start to get all dancey like. Anyway, we've had green. What's next on the list?
Now we've got red.
And so you're now going to come up with a pink or an orange, or do you actually have red?
These are legit reds.
Oh, okay.
Okay, turquoise is still a blue-green.
It's a blue-green, but it's not a green. It's a blue-green.
It's a turquoise. Turquoise is turquoise.
I don't think turquoise is an actual color class. That's like saying magenta is a magenta.
No,
magenta is a magenta.
Okay,
that makes a lot of sense.
I picked a green in the end.
What was that?
That is just not English. It's just gibberish.
That's just annoyance.
These are two reds. Definitely reds, okay? Sailor Gentle Grenade, which had... I just love Sailor inks because they smell good, but also because they have... I'm crazy. They have... most of their inks have a sheen, and a sheen gets me anytime. So
Charlie Sheen? Does he get you?
Not Charlie Sheen, no.
Just check.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, got a good sheen on it and good smell. And then the J. Herbin, whatever, Rouge
Mac.
Yeah, there we go.
That's a good one.
It was their 1670 anniversary. I guess it was like last year or 2 years ago, but they're still available and it has that wicked gold sheen on it too. And it's pretty, except it has that bottle that some people hate, me included, except that it's gorgeous. So very nice red inks if you are looking for red inks. This one's kind of finicky, but it's worth it.
That's really nice. It depends. I have found it depends a lot on the pen. In some pens, it looks like a really weird, almost brownish, but in many pens, I think it looks like a really cool red. I agree. Yeah, you could definitely do worse than have that one
Yeah.
in your collection.
Yeah.
Personally, um, it took a while for me to really get into red inks, and I still don't use a whole lot of them. I find them to be fairly hard to clean out of some pens, but there is one that I absolutely love, and that is called Ackerman Chinatown Red. Now, some people have received a letter from Lord Windermere during the NaNoWriMo, and I can give away that the ink, although he said it was made of ground crabs, it's not actually made of ground crabs. It was Ackerman Chinatown Red, and that is a super bright red to the extent that it almost hurts your eyes when you look at it. Super bright, super intense, and the archetypal red. That is red in the fullest sense of the word. It's not brownish, it's not dark, it's super red, and I absolutely love that ink. And of course it's Ackerman, so you get the really nice bottle. But I can really recommend, if you're looking for one of their inks and you are interested in something really spectacular, then that's one to get.
Awesome.
What about you, Dan?
My personal favorite has to be Mont Blanc Hitchcock Red. I just freaking love this red. It's got that darker look to it. It's absolutely fantastic. I've got it in my Pelikan M805 right now, and I love it. And it's very well behaved too. I mean, it's a quality ink. If I'm going for something that is a little more red, I'll go with Mont Blanc's Winter Glow. That definitely has a more what most people would think of red, you know, when they think of that. That's what it looks like to me. So really, Mont Blanc, they've got it nailed down for reds for me. This one is just as equally well behaved. This is obviously from your encyclopedia, Stephen. So you've got experience with it. But other than that, I've been unable to find a red that I've really been happy with. So those are my picks.
I'll be glad to send you a sample of Chinatown Red, because if you're looking for a really red, I think you may enjoy that.
Yeah, I'll have to try some.
Cool. All right.
Awesome.
What do we have next?
Purple. Ooh. Yeah, this one's pretty easy. It didn't take much thinking for me because the Iroshizuku Yamabudo was one of the first inks I got, and that was several years ago, and I still love it. I think it's purple.
Yeah, that's purple.
Yeah, the purple. I really like
Although
it.
you could say it's a sort of pinkish.
I'll smack you.
I was just doing that to deliberately annoy you. Sorry.
I really like it, and I do have other purples, but I have a fondness, you might say, for these inks, so I might be a teeny bit biased, but I like it. So that's mine.
We hadn't noticed you liked Yoshizuku. That was a complete and utter surprise. But
yeah, just
still.
a shock. Yeah.
My favorite is again one of those Conway Stewart inks, so you can also get this as a diamine, and again I do not know what the original name was, but the Conway Stewart name is Edgecombe or Edgecombe. There was some discussion on how exactly you should pronounce that, and it's a very interesting purple, which I really enjoy because it's so well shaded. You don't have, I shouldn't say you don't have, many of the purples I have don't have a whole lot of shading because they are on the very dark end of the spectrum of purple, whereas this one actually does have some pretty nice shading going. So I really like that, and as with all the inks I've tried in that Conway Stewart range, they have really good flow, very good properties, so it's a joy to use those.
Nice.
How about you, Dan?
I was just trying to think back of all the purples I used, and I haven't used that many. I think there's probably Waterman Purple, Noodler's, what is that, La Rien Mauve, I think. there's that, and then the one that I think is my favorite is probably Roaring Klingner's Solferino.
Oh, that is a nice one.
And I don't know, something about it just really stuck with me. I mean, I thought the color was a lot better than the Waterman or Noodlers, and the way it felt in the nib, you know, the lubrication is really high, so it gives you a really smooth, pleasant feel when you're riding. It just topped my purple inks, and
that one's kind of silky, I found.
Yes, that's
very
such a perfect description. And so, let's see, there was a pin store nearby. They were going out of business, and they had 2 bottles left, so I ended up buying the last 2 bottles of that Solferino because it's good stuff.
Nice. Good choice. I like that one. Well,
All right.
of course, the next category is even manlier. Pink!
Oh, yeah.
Steven was most enthusiastic about this one.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what?
Did he just mute?
You just cut out for a second.
Yeah, you just cut out for a second.
Oh, I was going to say, I actually really like pink inks.
Awesome! Thank you. That is
Well,
excellent.
no, I'm back.
Okay. Would you like to go first, or should I go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay, well, mine's really... I think everyone knows what mine is going to be. It's not even going to have to be difficult. It is Suji.
Sushi? What?
Suji, or whatever it is. Suji?
Okay. I don't know what the name's sorry.
I think it's azalea or something like that. Pink azalea or something like that. Anyway, another one of my first inks. And it's just a pink. It's not like a super bright pink, and it's not dark. Just a nice pink. So, and I don't think it's like too de-manlying if I wrote to a guy in it and he had to like read it. I don't think he would be like ashamed to be holding my letter, hopefully.
Steven would be.
Steven might be, but
no.
Which means I'm going to now write
I'm,
to him in this.
The problem is there was a pink that I liked. First of all, do you think you just like that because azalea is like Azizalia? You can sort of combine your name with azalea. Anyway, secondly, I mean, there was my first. The problem is this: my first pink ink was from a little sampler set of Gérardin inks that I got, and it was Rose Tendresse, which is very, very pink. That is a very girlish pink. And then I put it in my pen, and I thought, no.
Oh,
no.
man. Oh, man.
And then I was sort of traumatized because one of my colleagues, it wasn't that ink. I had a sort of another type of color in there, and she saw my writing, and she said, dude, you're using pink ink? I said, no, it's not pink, it's cyclamen. And she said, don't make it worse for yourself. I mean,
oh my god.
So then there's nothing against pink ink. I mean, every man can use pink ink. I don't mind, but it's just the one that I liked was actually by Ackermann, Mauritshuis Magenta, which is a very nicely shaded magenta. Yeah, I guess you could say it's a magenta. I wasn't sure it's exactly the right color, but it's a magenta. It's nicely shaded, and it's pretty cool to use. Dan, you have, what did you say, 3?
A couple.
Oh, now it's a couple. I see. Now that the discussion actually progresses, it's,
my first was Levenger Pinkley, and it still is. The problem with it is that it's impossible to find now. It actually has been out of production for several years. Occasionally you can come across a bottle, and I will buy every bit of it that I find, just because that it's that blinding.
Yes, that is definitely blinding.
Pink, and I just love it. I mean, that's by far what I think of when I think of pink. But like all the other Levenger inks, it does have a little bit of problem with feathering, bleed through. So you got to use it on the best papers. On Tomo River, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's fantastic. Other than that, I would have to go with Iroshizuku Momiji. This is a bottle that I have now. I think I have the other one coming, Aziza, that you were talking about from that Iroshizuku sale that we posted earlier. I think I ordered another one. But this, I've gotten another pen right now, and the Momiji is a really, really good substitute. I really like it.
Nice. See, there's nothing wrong with men using pink.
I am completely revitalized. I now completely agree to that. I've not been brainwashed, but I do agree. All right. What is the next color on our list?
We've got orange, which should be okay for you. Hopefully you can handle this category.
I think I can.
You think you can? Originally, I was going to say the Diamine Ancient Copper, but I changed my mind halfway through. Because I was
that's not allowed.
I was like, it's not really orange, because I'm sure you guys are going to complain. So I picked
You're
an
really
actual
pushing
orange.
it here, aren't you? I mean, first you come up with a turquoise ink and try to sell it off as green or whatever it was. Now you're
I'm
changing
a harlot.
inks.
I can do whatever I want.
All right, what is it?
Okay, so this is another Sailor ink, and again with a smell. Oh god, it smells so good. Okay, it is it is the apricot. It is a lovely orange. It is not blinding. It is not like nuclear and painful to look at. It is just super awesome. Looks great in demonstrators. It is like really nice to look at, and it's
Nice.
yeah, and it's not too bright. Like it's not painful, and again, just the smell is just so good. So if you don't have it, this is an orange I would highly recommend. And now I'm gonna open it and smell it while you guys talk about your oranges.
No, we're all gonna watch you smell it.
Mmm, so good. It doesn't have a
Smell it
sheen
again.
though.
Smell it again. Yeah.
That's just weird because nobody could see what I'm doing if they're listening to this, except for imagining that I'm sniffing ink. So
Moving
anyway,
on.
moving
I
on.
think my favorite orange is slightly debatable as to whether it's completely orange, but it is Nucleus Apache Sunset.
I'd
Probably.
call
Yeah, it's orange, right? It can, if you have a really wet pen that has a nice flexy nib, you can actually go from about red to about yellow with that ink. It is the most insanely shaded ink I have ever used, and I think it is just absolutely gorgeous. It is so amazing the way that ink behaves. I mean, yes, it will feather and will do some stuff on not too great paper, but it doesn't matter, because the shading is so wonderful and magnificent that I'm willing to put up with everything they throw at me for that. So that would be my orange.
I think I would have to go with another Iroshizuku, and that would be Yuyake. I just really, really like this. I would actually classify it as a yellow with orange tones, especially when you get into a more saturated pen. If you use it in something like a kind of dryish stub, that yellow will definitely come out more. But when it's saturated, it gives a really nice orange color to it, and it has excellent shading. I use this in my Delta Dolce Vita Oro, and it's a perfect match for it. I really, really like it.
Yeah, that would go well with it. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But
I think we're.
I do think
Oh, sorry,
there
go ahead.
are some inks that we didn't have categories for that need to be discussed, and mine would be Visconti Turquoise. It's an ink that I've discovered very early on when I got into fountain pens, and the color is just unbelievable, and it has such good qualities to it. I think if I wasn't going to use that, I would probably go with Noodler's Turquoise, but it's definitely a class of inks that I really enjoy using. Have you guys experimented with any turquoises before?
Let's first ask whether Aziza has sniffed a lot of turquoise inks.
Not a lot, surprisingly, but I have sniffed high-quality turquoise inks, including the Visconti, which is fantastic. I do agree. That is a very, very nice turquoise. And then the Caribbean Sea, which was vetoed. So those two would be my top turquoise inks. Fantastic colors. I'm very disappointed that the Caribbean Sea is discontinued, so I have a stock of like 3 bottles. So I'm
Well,
not
don't you have Ackerman Trèves Turquoise?
Yeah, but it's a totally different color.
Oh, seriously? Oh,
Yeah,
because that's probably my favorite.
Very nice color, but completely different.
Oh, really?
So
Good thing I
here's
have,
here's a
like,
dilemma I run into. When an ink is canceled and you've got that stock, you said you've got 3 bottles.
Yeah.
I've got probably close to 2 bottles of that Lavender Pinkley. do you actually use it? Because
I
I
do.
never use it in fear of it running out, and then I'll never be able to use it again. So now
I use
I've
it,
got really.
and
See,
my flex pens.
no, I'm glad. Like that's awesome because for some reason I just can't bring myself to use it because like, oh my god, once it's gone, it's gone forever. You know, it's like what do I do?
Yeah, I know. I know. It's very painful. It's very difficult, but it looks so good in flex pens that I can't not use it.
Steven, what about you? Are we just crazy and you like you people are dumb? Just use your damn ink.
Well, I am a psychologist, so I have a word or two to say here. But well, I think Dan, I think your problem is easily solved. If you have two bottles, then you can just use one and keep one. Then you have sort of have the best of both worlds. But imagine that is maybe not the right solution. I think it's like people who, I mean, it's like buying a vintage pen, knowing that it is maybe in mint condition, and then not using it. I understand the dilemma, but I mean, why have it around if you don't actually get to use it? So I think the only ink I have that's no longer produced is that Penman Sapphire, and I use it. I think about I'm not just grading student papers with that. Something that's a non-really exalted goal purpose for that. I will definitely use it, and I think that is a nice way to do it. And the other reason I would have for not using it, for using it as opposed to not using it, was that I have actually had a few inks that were modern inks that just went bad on me, and when I retracted my pen from them, a stringy goo was just hanging from my nib, which was really disgusting. And imagine that happening to your favorite ink. Then you can throw it out all the same, or you can either try to siphon it or whatever, do something with it.
I wouldn't siphon it, but maybe filter it.
Yeah, whatever. I don't even know what siphoning means. I'm just random words here. The Dutch word is safe, so it sounds like the same thing. So I just interpolate and just use it. That's how I speak languages, you know. But yeah, I mean, you could do a lot of stuff with it.
Yeah, that is
What
a good
is siphoning then? Huh?
When you like take a tube and you like suck the ink up to create a vacuum. And then it would like
that.
Like transfer it to another container or something.
Yeah, to transfer.
Like you would siphon gas out of a car.
I understand now.
So you probably don't want to do that if you've got slimy ink, because it's probably going to end up in your mouth a bit. And you don't want slimy ink in your mouth. Regular ink is fine, but not slimy.
That sounds like you talk from experience. Maybe we should move on to the are there any other color classes we have missed? So we have yellow. I mean, I have Bouton d'Or and I have Delta Yellow. Both inks can be put into pens. Both inks cannot be read back when you've written with them, so I would just skip those. But I think we have covered pretty much any other color. Oh, gray! We have not talked about gray.
Yeah.
Gray.
Brian Gray. No, wait. I mean, what? Aziza, what about your grays?
You know, while she's thinking, I'll say, I've got a bottle of Noodler's Lexington Gray, and I swear, when I use it, it looks like I've written with a pencil. It is awesome.
Oh, that's nice.
Like, I don't know why. I mean, I used to use pencils, like, almost exclusively up until I switched to fountain pens, so it's just kind of, I don't know, I have a weird thing for pencils, but, which even sounds weirder, but just using a fountain pen and ink, you know, and having it look like you wrote with the pencil is just really cool to me. So that's the gray I would go with.
That is cool. Aziza.
I would be torn between two grays. The Iroshizuku Kirisami, which is the darker gray of the two that they have, and then the De Atramentis, just their silver gray. But both have to be in a wet inky pen because I like them dark. I like dark grays.
Yeah, I think dark grays because I think I have 3 grays. One of them is kind of weird. That is Cherban Cacao do Brazil, and then I told Eric that's a pretty dark gray, and he said, "Gray? Mine is brown." Sorry,
Told who?
Eric. You know, remember that was the guy he used to hang around with us. Sometimes he had the glasses and the little hair and the sort of the
little hair.
You know, the hair and the shirt, and he used to be there. The dude with the big clock. The
big clock, gotcha.
Yeah, the big clock. Now you remember, right?
Yeah.
Actually didn't run, but that's a whole different story. So he said, well, mine, Cacao de Brazil, mine is brown. And he sent me a sample, and his was brown, mine was gray, so that was weird. Because now I don't know which one is correct, so I can't really talk about that. I just did so, but I can't really talk about it. So there's 2 other options. There's Gris Nuage by Germain, which is a very light gray. I don't like that because it is. You can read it, at least the bottle I got. You can read it when you write with it, but it's just not so clear. It's a bit hard to read, so I don't really like that. And then I have Mont Blanc Oyster Grey, and that is an ink that was described by the same foresaid Eric as, well, it's just yucky. So I thought that was a pretty a nice reason to get it, because I wanted to try out a yucky ink myself. And I think the name Oyster is awfully well chosen. It's really that sort of weird, deep sea encrusted oyster gray, and that sounds really disgusting.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, and it has some nice shading to it. So it's a pretty cool ink to check out.
Nice.
Just saying.
After you've described it as disgusting, but
Well, that's what Eric thought, not necessarily what I thought.
fair enough. Interesting.
And I think that's really all the colors I can come up with. So I think we've covered everything.
I mean, we could talk about inks for, like, well, I could talk about inks for hours, but, you know, yeah, that seems like a reasonable place to carry on, right?
Oh,
This is the
That's
one.
adorable.
This is the one that makes all the noise that you hear in about 90% of my videos, and quite often while we are doing these shows. So just so you know, that's Dizzy.
Oh, cute. Well, no, I'm sure no one. Well, yeah, okay, that just like stole the show again. This is what happens when cute things are around. It's like Arya, and then nobody pays attention anymore, right?
No, exactly. And every time you try to talk, we do something like this to, sort of, distract people and actually, No,
So
I'm just
mean.
kidding.
Chat? Are you paying attention to how mean he is? That's right. What
Okay.
a guy. What a guy. Okay,
So we have covered inks.
we've covered inks.
What do we do next?
Well, I did have a paper cut this week, but we also have a reader question that came in last week, and I think we should perhaps address it because it seems like an issue that I think you might want addressed.
All right.
well, should we do both?
We could do both.
I think we can do both. There is enough time.
We've got plenty of
Yeah?
time.
Okay, shall we do the question first?
Sure, why not?
Okay, the question is from Jay, and it's kind of long, so bear with me while I ramble through it. Or I guess I could just read through it and we'll answer it in parts. Jay has a Conway Stewart Red Ripple Ebonite limited edition Leverfill Marlborough with a fine nib, and sometimes it skips on super smooth Clairefontaine paper, but it never does on regular paper once it starts writing. It does have the occasional slow start if stored nib up and not used for several days, but once it starts writing on regular paper, it seems to not stop. The issue seems to be worse when the amount of ink in it is low, since it's a lever with a sack. Obviously, I don't know how much ink is in the sack, but the first few days I fill it with no issues, but after a few days it starts skipping. He asked if I have a similar issue with mine when it gets low on ink, because I have the same pen. I have an eyedropper. Jay, if you're listening, which I know you will eventually, I no longer have this issue, but I will explain why. He then goes on to say, since this is a fine nib, is the chance of a baby bottom lowered, and therefore is it a nib/feed issue or a low ink issue? Stephen, you have done baby bottom.
You may want to
discussions.
rephrase your choice of words that you're thinking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to continue. So perhaps Stephen could answer the question about baby bottom and fine nibs.
Well, I think that Jake is right, that the broader the nib gets, the larger the probability of having baby's bottom syndrome. Although actually Dan is our residential nibmeister, so I think he is more in the position to answer that. But that's what I always thought, that if you just have less tipping material, so that over polishing would just be more pronounced on a broad nib. I suppose it could still also happen on a fine nib, but I would say it is indeed less likely on a fine nib.
It can be. I mean, without actually examining the nib, it sounds like it's a baby's bottom. Just because he says that, once he gets it writing, it writes fine, and it's just when it's starting out. I mean, that's pretty classic symptoms of a baby's bottom, and especially when he says it's it only happens sometimes on super smooth Clairefontaine, but never on regular paper, that would be another signal to me that it's probably a baby's bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
as you said, you had this problem, but now you don't anymore?
Yes. It turns out the issue with mine, I was having trouble getting mine writing. I don't store. He actually then goes on to ask if how I store my pen, because he says he stores his inked pen's nib up. I don't store my inked pen's nib up; they're horizontal.
Okay.
So Jay, no, I keep my pens horizontal. So personally, I think that's fine. I assume you guys also store your pens horizontally if they're inked.
Yeah, more or less. I mean,
I'm guessing that might be contributing to why he has a hard time getting it started at first as well, because the ink has got to get through the feed again if it's drained out of it. Perhaps, but possibly. But if it is a bigger issue, what happened with mine? It turns out that my tines were like really jammed together. There was no space between them. So I did the Waverly method.
That someone here has.
Yeah, it's like very carefully after practicing on a different pen, and problem is solved. So my ink flow is good now, and it starts up really well, and it's writing really well. So, and I looked really closely for the baby bottom on the tip there, and I don't have it, and I have the italic fine. So it's possible that maybe his tines just need some work. But like Dan said, it's hard to say without seeing it.
right.
So what I'll do is follow up with him and see maybe if he can send me a picture of it, and then we'll just have a look at it or something. But
And really, I mean, his best bet, if possible, go to a pen show and have a Nibmeister work on it. I mean, that's going to be your absolute best option, because you're there, you're talking to him. He'll adjust it. He'll hand it back to you. You can write with it, and you can go back and forth like that, and he can tune it to exactly what you want. But otherwise, I mean, if you send it to any quality Nibmeister, I mean, they're going to be able to get that nib, working like a champ. So, and on a pen like that, I would say it's definitely worth doing.
yeah, I mean, you want it to work perfectly because it's a super nice pen. So why not have it just the way you want it? So, yeah. Yes.
All right.
Alrighty.
Paper cut.
Yes, the paper cut. Oh, I love this paper. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
I can hear it.
Anyway, I know Steven's like dying inside because he hates this stuff.
I haven't tried it, but I probably will.
Yeah, I know you hate it, so that's fine. Whatever. This is onion skin paper from the Paper Mill store. This was actually a sample sent to me from Rachel. Thank you, Rachel, because now I am like head over heels in love with this stuff, just like Tomo River, and it's easier to get and it's affordable. So I think a ream is like $25, which is not bad. Can you consider how much a ream of Tomo River would cost you? So, like, seriously. Oh, my God. I can barely get through this. Okay. So,
Take a deep breath.
yeah. It's very thin. It's very see-through. Here, you can see how see-through it is. That's like,
Wow.
Yeah, it's super see-through.
Can you just hold up one sheet, maybe? Just.
Yeah, let me hold up. This is the one that I did all the writing samples on. You can kind of see the texture of the paper. It's like crinkly of sorts. But it's fountain pen friendly. I mean, there's like no feathering. If I show you up close, that's with a inky pen, right? No feathering. Are you laughing at me because I'm crazy?
Just because you shoved the paper right up next to the camera.
Yeah, well, I want you to see there's no feathering.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, it's focused. That's good.
It's gorgeous, and okay, no feathering, which is awesome. It sounds really weird. There's no bleed through. There's show through, but there's no bleed through. Like, it doesn't saturate through the paper.
Right.
But I mean, you obviously can't really write on the backside.
Well, you're gonna have that because it's so thin.
Right. So you're not gonna write on the backside anyway. But oh god, this paper is just so good. It's lovely to write on, and it shows the sheen of your ink, which is fantastic. I've got close-up pictures on my blog. I did a review, I think, like 2 weeks ago.
I was gonna say I'm a little confused because I don't remember seeing this review on FP Geeks.
Yes, it was on mine. So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But I did some like sheen close-ups, and it's like, it's just so delicious. You'll probably be drooling. Go with like a cloth or something. The downside to it is that because it's so like papery thin, it can bend easily. It's not as delicate as the Tomo River, surprisingly, despite what you would think. And if you don't like thin and crinkly paper, some people in here, you will not like this, but
It's possible.
It is possible. Drying time is decent. Like, you're not going to be sitting around for a minute waiting for your inky pens to be drying. So
Just 57 seconds.
no, not 57 seconds. With a broad nib, I waited 40 seconds, I think. Yep.
Well, that's
Stub nibs are not that bad at all. They were like 20 seconds. But seriously,
Okay.
like, oh my god. And there's a video on my review of me just doing this, just in case you want to make that your ringtone or something, so when people phone you and you don't want to talk to them, you could just listen to the paper crinkle.
I totally think we. I'm starting to get all American. I think that we need FP Geeks ringtones. I've thought of that a long time. And I think we need this. This is definitely one of them, although I'm not sure how well you can hear that. But I think there are some other nice sound bites that we could actually come up with that people might want to use in their phones. Just saying. So please, if you think that's the case, give us feedback and we get you done.
Get you done, yes.
Take it a step further. I mean, make the soundbite and send it to us. We'll create a little post just for FP Geeks ringtones and credit you. I mean, that'd be freaking awesome.
That would be hilarious. I like
That'd be
it.
Nice.
Yes.
Love it.
So that concludes the paper cut, and I didn't actually get any paper cuts from this. It's quite gentle.
One question I have: if you were if you were to have a blank sheet of this, and you would put it on something else, would you be able to use it as tracer paper, or is
Absolutely.
it not quite that thin? Okay.
It is super, like, does this show really how thin it is? I can't really tell. No, it doesn't. No. It's very thin. You'll be able to see. You can see right through it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's wicked.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Should
don't
we
be a
have-
Steven.
No, don't be a me.
Don't be a Steven.
It's
Just
very weird to be me.
get some of that paper.
Should we have a quick rundown of the news on the website?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You want to do
And then
it?
everyone just sits back and just watches me do it. Okay.
Mhm.
There was the Pilot Stargazer fountain pens. Didn't we cover those last week? No, they were on. Well, anyway, that's something that's in my list, and as you know, I like to read whatever is on my list. There was the TWSBI, which is experimenting with the White Classic 580, and they actually need our input. They want to know what we think, whether they should do it or not.
So
There
in
was-
this one, Stephen,
Yes.
they had a render of the rose gold option and a prototype of the chrome trim option. Later this week, just last night, actually, I updated and published a new post. They actually have a real life prototype of the rose gold and white. So it gives a much more accurate representation of the rose gold color, and it actually swayed me. The render I really didn't care about it. It didn't look right. The real life rose gold I think looks really good. I'd be really interested in seeing these in real life. I'll probably pick up one. I mean, if they come out with both, I don't know which one I'll get, but if they only come out with one, I'll probably pick it up. I really like the white classic is what I'm terming it. I really like that color combination.
It looked quite nice, I agree. And if you want to see what it looks like, check the post. Then we had the bad cartoon for July, which I cannot even begin to describe. You just have to watch, look, and read that yourself. There was the third episode for the third season of Ask the Professor. I think he was particularly annoying this week, so if you enjoy that sort of thing, then by all means check it out.
I have to put up with him.
Yeah, I feel sorry for you because it's
He's tough.
suffering there.
Mhm.
It's not easy. And then there was some new information about Eric's whereabouts. The Central Intelligence Agency was now getting involved. We intercepted some stuff from that. I have this weird suspicion that more stuff may show up next week. There was an encyclopedia entry for Jailbound 1670 Ocean Blue. Aziza has just shown the red one in the show. And there is also a blue, which was launched later. It is dark blue. Then there was the Pilot Justice, or Justice, or whatever we're supposed to pronounce that. I'm not absolutely sure. It is a very interesting pen, which has a sort of regulatable. You can actually adapt. That's a new word. It's a word now.
Sure.
It was a regulatable nib, which can actually, you can regulate the amount of flex you want. It's
Not the
very
flex,
cool.
the feel.
The
You
feel.
can adjust it yes, you can adjust it between a hard or a soft nib. It actually does very little as far as flex goes.
Which is confusing,
cool.
but
yeah. Thanks for the thanks. I thought it was about flex.
A Pilot Justice. No, just whatever.
Justice.
Yeah.
Adjust us. Adjuster us.
Well, oh my god.
Yes, well, then there was the Noodler's non-flex nib Conrads. I did not read everything it says in the show notes. It says Nox Flex, but it obviously should say non-flex, and I can say that because I have made this part of the show notes. The non-flex nib Conrad's quite cool. You get a Conrad, but you don't get the flex nib. So if you don't care for flex nibs, that's pretty cool. And then there was Aziza shaking her head.
You're just dead to me if you don't like flex nibs. That's all. Just go on. Nothing.
Well, then there was the FP Geeks semi-quarterly report. Maybe I made up a semi-quarterly report. Sorry. Maybe Dan can tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a quarterly report. So last year at the end of 2012, in December I started recapping each quarter of 2012, and I did that each week in December. And so this year, instead of doing it at the end of the year, I was going to try and do it each quarter. But I totally forgot the first quarter, and so now I was just doing a mid-year report, and I grouped them both together. But for the third quarter, I'll try and do it then, and then again at the end of the year. And basically, it's just to kind of give everyone an update on how we're doing, what you guys are interested in mostly, and I think this first half a year, it was actually similar to all of last year as well. Reviews are always very popular, and also anything with TWSBI in it is very popular. But then, of course, you'll have things like the new color for Lamy pens. This year, it was the All-Star. I can't remember what color it was. The champagne or whatever color.
Right. Yeah.
That was really popular this first half of this year. Last year, it was that candy apple green safari was super popular. So just kind of give you an idea of what's going on. And then we also included a little more details on kind of the technology that you guys use, what OSs are the most popular, where our audience is from, things like that. But then you can just kind of expect that each quarter. I think it's kind of some neat news, neat info there.
Absolutely.
Nice.
All right. Any... Yes? No. Any recent acquisitions?
I did get, like I said, those 2 inks for the Uroshizuku inks that I ordered from that deal we posted last week. I got 2 of the 4 bottles in, so, but no pens.
Well,
Steve?
I got a pen, but I'm not going to tell you, just because I don't have it with me. No, it's a very interesting pen. It's handmade in India. It is a Varuna Gajendra, and those pens, the word baseball bat comes to mind. I mean, these are large 7-inch pens. That's a lot of pen. So it's very interesting. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring it from upstairs. I'm not going to run it now. So I promise to show you that next week. It is very interesting to use. It's an eyedropper with a 6.5 milliliter capacity, so that's not exactly bad, and it's just very, very cool. But show you next week.
Nice.
So maybe we should tell people how they can contact us. How about that?
Before we do, Stephen, I just want to point out one thing from the forums. Yes. If anybody here uses the forums, we really want your feedback on something. We currently have a market feedback forum where we give people the opportunity to share their good and bad experiences with vendors, repairmen, manufacturers, retailers, whatever. And we're having a debate there right now of whether or not we should even have a market feedback forum. So if you use the forum, definitely head over there and let your voice be heard, because this is just as much as your forum as it is ours. So we want to know what you think. We want to know what you want it to be. And if you guys really don't want it, we'll get rid of it. But if you do want it, we need to know how to make it work. So definitely stop by and then put your ideas out there.
Nice. All right, Aziza.
Yeah, I got it.
We
Uh,
know.
hang out on the web, fpgeeks.com. You can email us, podcast@fpgeeks.com. That was me typing.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Now I want to see the rest too. Okay, phone.
Yeah, phone. I always do the phone. I mean, like old school phone, 415-685-GEEK, which is 415-685-4335. You can follow us on Twitter,
And what's
twitter.com/FPGeek.
your Twitter symbol?
Where's the action for
We need
Twitter?
a sign.
There
Twitter,
you go.
the bird. And then Facebook, because the face, facebook.com/FPGeeks. Oh, what's forum? Forum,
Thing
like
with
minds
stuff.
melding, forum, fpgeeks.com/forum, and then you can use post. Mailing address.
Lick an envelope or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Use the post,
Great.
Fountain Pen Geeks, P.O. Box 728, Ankeny, Iowa 50021. Or use all, because we would love to hear from you. Yes. At least I would.
Yeah, all of the above are allowed.
Yeah.
And I think, unless any one of you has anything else to say, we can wrap up for this week.
That's all, folks. Thank you for watching and listening and chatting. It was a pleasure. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.